Hey, you've just stepped into the Caring Corner, where life's caregiving challenges meet a whole lot of heart and a dash of sass. I'm Mischelle O'Neal, and I'm here to serve up insights, inspiration, and real life tools to help you navigate caring for your kids and aging loved ones without forgetting about you. Expect everything from time management hacks and emotional wellness strategies to technology tips sprinkled with humor and tenacity. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Caring Corner. I'm your host and resident emotional wellness coach, Mischelle O'Neal. And today I am so excited to bring to you a phenomenal guest. We have Alison Bosworth, the founder of Strong is Beautiful, who is an advocate for women empowerment and personal safety. And I don't want to get all into it, but I want to read her brief biography so that you know exactly who we're dealing with today. Now, she's serving as an analyst in the FBI and extensive training in martial arts. Now, Alison brings a unique blend of expertise and experience to her mission. She holds a black belt. Did you get that? A black belt in Shinmu Hapkido and trained in, and I'm going to mess this up, Krav Maga, and served as head instructor at a martial arts school. Now, Alison's drive for educating women to become confident through self-defense led her to create Strong is Beautiful, a unique course that offers women the flexibility to learn essential self-defense skills in the comfort of your own home. Do you get that? In your own home. Now, through her work, Alison aims to lead the conversation around personal safety and inspire confidence, resilience, my thing, and strength in women everywhere. And so I'm going to bring Alison on here. Can we have a roar and clap? Yay, Alison's here. So let me tell you, before we even get into it, and I let her talk to you, we were on here talking and I could not stop. There are so many questions, so many things around self-defense, how we protect ourselves, and resilience that we forgot that we were supposed to be recording. So I hope we don't forget anything. So, Alison, say hello to everyone.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to share this. One thing I do want to say, so former FBI, an analyst in the FBI, but now I'm working in the private sector, and that's actually what spurred all of Strong is Beautiful to get developed. So when I get to telling you my backstory, part of it is that I was just surrounded by law enforcement and military mindset that I didn't know what I'm about to talk about was not common knowledge and not in the forefront of everybody's mind like it is ours. So just to clarify, I've been out of the FBI now for about 5 years. So
Awesome. So that's something we need to correct. I'm sorry for that, but yes, hey, once FBI, always FBI, right? Kind of like the military.
I was going to say, I was like, there's a difference between former and ex, like military and law enforcement. I think we're always former self. It's really hard to get that side of us out. It will always be there.
It doesn't go away. You what do they say? You can take the girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl. Well, same thing
Exactly.
with the Air Force or the military, and with the FBI, with any service, type job, firemen, anything like that. It becomes part of us. So, Alison, I know we touched on this in your bio, but could you share with all of us, a pivotal moment in your journey that led you to focus on teaching women to become confident through self-defense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I touched on it briefly. I was in the government. And then in 2019, I went into the private sector. And this is where I started realizing that what I knew and kind of the conversations around self defense. Like I would get stories from other women about fear that they had, all of these things around, just that how our safety isn't guaranteed. And as the conversations progressed, I started realizing, I was like, oh, wait, you guys don't think about this stuff in, this manner. And then to backtrack a little bit, my dad was a Vietnam vet. So I grew up learning about situational awareness probably before I was even in elementary school in a way that I don't know that most kids get these days. So from a very young age, I was taught about like paying attention to my surroundings, looking at things in more of a safety perspective, going into buildings, knowing where my entrances and exits are, who might seem unsafe, approaching you, different things like that. And that was from elementary school, married into military, my brother's law enforcement, I was in law enforcement. So not until I was out and kind of what I call like civilian life, did I start realizing that personal safety really isn't thought about in the way of when you're in these closer circles, especially in military and government. That we all just took for granted as common knowledge. So the pivotal point really came when I was working with women, hearing these stories, and then going into, I had the opportunity to serve as an instructor for a new school that was opening. So I went back into the martial arts world. I had trained in grad school before the FBI. So this new opportunity came about, and I was like, you know what? At 22, I had the opportunity to become a head instructor, and I chose the FBI route. So when the opportunity came again, I was like, let's try this. And again, I was having this repeat of conversation with women when I would host seminars of, I just feel really uncomfortable doing this, or I didn't like why it took them so long to take a seminar. I just didn't feel comfortable with a male instructor. So all of these things started to come up, and I'm like, huh, makes sense. It's uncomfortable to go to a police station and learn self defense. It's intimidating to walk into a dojo with a male instructor or someone that you might not know. And then also accessibility. It's, depending upon what town you're in, you might not have access to an instructor or one of these offerings that, I just started to see the gap of a conversation that needed to be had, training that needed to be established, and how to do it in a way that fit like the ever busy woman's life. So that's where Strong is Beautiful came about.
So we together, we were in a cohort together, and that's how we met. And one of the things that we were talking about when we were talking about your business was my clientele, which are caregivers, that are taking care of their loved ones, and so we were talking about how a lot of times you don't think about your safety when you're caring for others, when your whole attention, your whole focus is on that person. So when you're out and you're at Walmart, or you're in the home by yourself with someone, and all sorts of things are happening nowadays. And so one of the things I wanted to ask is, having that conversation, has that influenced any way of how you're looking at things differently for even this sector, and maintaining a balance or emotional wellness for them as well?
So when you pose this to me, like first off, I want to say props to all of the caregivers out there. I had referenced my father; he had a massive stroke back in 2009, and my mom has been his primary caregiver. And then we also have caregiver support that comes in because of his veteran status, and just the double impact. So one, seeing my mom having to take care of him and what that does to her, and the emotional, everything that you preach, the emotional wellness, and seeing how she needs to take care of herself. And when we have the external caregivers coming in, how integrated they come into our family and have just been this, they become family. I know
Right,
like
right.
there have been a few that have literally become like extended family to us. And again, just thank you for all of the work that you guys do. Um, but going back to my mindset of this, yes, like again, I have my mom as a reference. I know she is a target when she is out in public with my dad. One, they are older, they're in their 70s. So the elderly in general are a primary target because they appear weaker, there's less mobility, slower moving, all of those types of things. And then when you put it in from a caregiver's perspective, your attention is always on that other person. So you're worrying that they're not going to trip and fall, that, something isn't going to happen there. So we're going to take it back a step. And I almost view this as they are just an extension of you. So not as secondary people, but really just an extension of you. So how I teach and communicate self-defense, 5% of it is physical.
Mhm.
95% of it is more mindset, preventative measures, articulation or communication of expectations or that confidence that I talk about of what we're trying to build. Those are the things that start to help you be able to protect yourself and whoever you're with. So I don't know if you want me to go into an example of what I kind of mean by this or.
Absolutely, absolutely, because we want to make it as visceral as we can. Where you can see yourself in that situation, and understand that, oh, this is what I need to think about as I'm out and about, or as I'm doing my due diligence. This is what I need to do. Absolutely.
Okay. So kind of the way that I talk through it is awareness, planning, and communication. I'm going to jump right to the planning part because when you think through things, whether they happen or not, you have taken the time to at least giving yourself some insights, like asking yourself, how would I respond or what would I do? But before you even get to like a confrontation part, plan the preventative measures. So, say you're transporting and you're going out in public with your loved one and they have limited mobility. So, you know that you're helping them in and out of the car. You are concerned about like how far of a distance they have to walk, all of these things. Starting with the first, let's start with the car. So, like the planning part and being preventative would be knowing that the location you're going to, are you familiar with it? Do you feel comfortable going there? Is it well lit? What time of day is it? All of these things kind of drive the behavior that you're going to have. I would assume that we have maybe like a handicap sticker. So the potential of having a closer spot, under
Mhm.
lighting, those types of things. The other thing would be when you're going to get them out of the car. Are you checking to see your surroundings? Is there anyone loitering? Is there anything that's making you uncomfortable? Is there no one out in public and you basically have a clear shot to the door? So that's step one. The next thing is you get out of the car and you go over to them. Lock your side of the door. That way, you're not worrying about someone going into the other side while you're distracted with that individual. So these are just small things, but now you don't have to worry about your car getting jacked, someone sliding into the driver's seat, going into like the back. Is just having the other doors locked ahead of time. So now you're going to that individual. Same thing would be as when you're getting back into the car. Unlock their side first, get them in, then walk around to the car and open up your side or the additional doors. That way you're not worrying about someone coming in and hijacking the car, stealing stuff out while you're with that individual.
These are phenomenal tips. I really love that. And it's funny that you and I have talked, and the fact that because of our background, they're kind of, a lot of them are second nature to
Mhm.
us, but they really aren't. You think about when you have to go to the store, right? How many people, like I know people in my family that will go at night, woman by herself, women by themselves. And it's like, think through that, especially knowing what we deal with through, every time you turn the news on or you see
Mhm.
things like that. So I love that you talked about the planning, and it reminds me of the stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah.
That's planning, is planning what to do when the emergency happens. And so if you're already prepared, if you've even gone through this exercise before, so because it's planning, you start doing that every time you go to the store. You start being more aware, and we had talked about that.
Mhm.
Awareness is the fact, now that you know the steps to take, now that you know the things to to look out for. Do this every time you go, not, so that it becomes a habit, that it becomes a non-thinkable, and that you do second nature. So absolutely.
So one thing to close out on the planning, is that thinking it through, you're building, and I don't know how much you get into like the neuro pathways and the
Yes.
mind body connection.
Mhm.
Um, One thing I always talk about there, for me myself, I've never been attacked. So I've trained hundreds of hours in the gym, been attacked in a, comfort zone level for me, but never out in public. Like never, I've never experienced an assault. So, with that, I still don't know how my body would respond in that situation. Also, I don't know what the capabilities of my attacker would be. There are so many unknowns when it comes to defending yourself. But with that, I have thought through a lot of different situations, a lot of different scenarios that I hope my body responds before my conscious brain even knows
Right.
what to do. So, like, I mean, my poor husband, like, he was with me while I was training for my black belt, and all of this, that he has learned that sometimes, like, I know I'm safe in my home. I didn't hear him or we're out and he grabs me. I will respond on how my body has been trained to respond. There are times like we have a rule I'm not allowed to kick. But there are times that I'm like, I will start with the elbow until my brain catches up that, oh
Mhm.
no, like I know him and he's joking around. Like it is that type of circuit that when you're thinking this through or starting off from the very beginning, it becomes almost that automatic, thought process eventually. If you do it one time, great. If you do it more than once, even better. It's better than being in a situation where you've never thought it through that now you're like stunned and you're like, what do I do? I don't even know. If you've thought it through one time, you're at least starting those pathways.
And there are things that a lot of people don't think, and then I'll get on to the next question. But there are things like, if you're at certain stores, they will have someone, you can ask them, can someone walk out to my car with me? Or can
Oh,
someone carry, and absolutely ask that,
yeah.
especially if you feel uncomfortable. If there's people loitering at the front door and stuff, ask for that help.
I've been asked to I've asked the security guard to walk me out because I felt uncomfortable. I talk about a situation of where I was in Target and this goes into my trusting your intuition, which is something that women sometimes don't do. Like
Mhm.
it's almost been trained in us to,
Blow it
diminish,
off.
yeah, to like diminish our own like value or worth or our, like we start to think of like logical reasons as to why this is happening instead of just being like, you know what, something feels off and I'm going to go with it. So there
Mhm.
was this gentleman in, and I use gentleman loosely. There was this guy in in Target
Mhm.
who didn't have a card, didn't have anything in his hands, and he kept appearing in the aisles that I was in. And again, I'll go back to the awareness piece here, as the next part, but it registered to me that something just didn't seem right with him. And I was like, okay. And it wasn't a confrontational thing. I just kept my eye on him. And after I saw him a few times, still nothing in his hands, I did not feel comfortable. I'm like, this is just something is off. I went to check out, asked where security was. Security was at the door. Security's like the 60-year-old rent a cop type. Like, let's be real. Like, I trust my physical capabilities. He's not defending me. And that wasn't my intention. My intention was to have a secondary person with me
He's
because,
a deterrent. He's still a
yeah,
deterrent. Yes.
exactly. Like I'm trying to not to make myself an easy target. If I walked out there alone, then who knows what could have happened or if anything was going to happen. But when you walk out with a second person, now you have a witness, now you have someone like I've just ruined whatever singular plan they might have had.
Mhm.
And even with my years of training, I proved myself in the gym enough times. Like I proved myself during my belt tests. Like I am good. If I have an opportunity to reduce the risk of me being in a situation that would require me to use my physical capabilities, I will.
Mhm.
I will ask that 60-year-old man, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable. Can you walk me to my car?" He was like, "Absolutely." And also in that, there's no shame in that. There's no devaluing your safety or your importance, as in thinking like, well, he has something better to do. No, he
Hmm.
doesn't. This is his job. I wasn't asking him to do anything outside of his normal job, and it probably made his day. So those are the things that if you feel uncomfortable, ask someone. Like,
Absolutely.
stores have them,
Absolutely.
they're there for a reason.
So, with that said, now the women that I work with mostly, they're juggling caregiving, they have family, they have their professional responsibilities, and they often face, well, unique safety challenges, because of they're everywhere. But what are some common safety concerns that they may not even think about? And could you actually suggest strategies for maybe overcoming these things, like you said, these obstacles? And you're saying it's not always the physical. And so, what things can they do, to ensure that both their safety and the safety of their loved ones are taken care
Absolutely. So we're going to go back to that awareness piece.
of? Hmm.
One of the pieces I want to say is the easiest to do is not be distracted. And I know that's really hard when you're caring for someone because they draw your attention, but remove your loved one. I'm talking about all of the other things that could distract you: your phone, earbuds, having things in your hands. Part of it is setting yourself up that you're able to take in the information around you. So I get very nerdy when it comes to like cognition, neuropathway, like all of the internal signals that we get because it is very fascinating to me. But
Me too.
one of them is how much is happening at the subconscious level that
Hmm.
is not even registering to the conscious mind. So knowing that like the whole goal for your body is to survive, like it wants to live forever, that as information is coming in, it is doing its own thing, analyzing, like I think of it as a supercomputer, taking in the data points and then projecting up information that is most relevant. And that's where, the thoughts and visual stuff
Right.
context is coming into play.
Hmm.
But here's the thing. If you are head down in your phone scrolling, your body's not really taking in anything. Like if your head is up, your phone is in your purse, and you're scanning the area, you're getting in. It might not mean anything to you at the moment, but you're taking in at least more data points. If you
Right.
have if you have headphones in when you're going from point A to point B, or even on your own, just walking from place to place, you have now taken down one of your main senses. You can't hear. You can't hear footsteps behind you. You can't hear someone arguing that you might turn down an aisle or a pathway of where people are arguing. So now you're in the wrong place at the wrong time type situation. I always talk about using your senses as like a superpower. I
Hmm.
will know someone is around before I even see them, especially if they're smoking a cigarette.
Oh.
Very sensitive to that. I will have that cigarette smoke smell, and now I'm scanning like where's that person even at? And
Hmm.
then so it's things like that that helps them. I don't want to say not even put themselves in a situation, but gives them those cues that like, hey, maybe I need to be on alert. Maybe I need to be paying attention. Maybe someone's closer to me than I thought, and I need to be on guard a little bit more. Um, the other thing I talk about is not making yourself an easy target. So being distracted definitely makes yourself an easy target because your head's down, you're not seeing someone. But an easy target could also be you have all these things in your hands. I'm I have a bad habit of that if I don't want to have my shopping cart, I will try to take all of my bags in one thing. But I now have lost the capability to defend myself using my hands because they are preoccupied. Or before, when I worked at the bureau, if I had to walk to the parking garage or all of that, I want to have a backpack so my hands are free and I don't want to have 17 things in my hands as I'm going from one point to the other because I'm not able to give the cues of telling someone to stand back and have my hands up to protect myself. Those are like the little things that I could think of that are very minor, but makes you less of an easy target. If I saw someone who had all of the stuff in their hands, they wouldn't be able to fight me. So I might attack them before the woman who's standing there, shoulders back, head up, who looks like she could probably take me. Like, I'm going to go for the path of least resistance here.
So I want to bring something up that hit my mind while you were talking. And you're saying be aware and be prepared, and your senses being gone. But one of the things that really stuck out for me one time recently when I was out is it was early and I hadn't even used my voice yet.
Mm.
And so the thought of, I wonder, this thought came, remember, we are aware. The thought came in my head, I wonder if I screamed, if I could get it out because my voice isn't even warmed up yet.
Yeah.
Or my vocal cords, would it come out as a hoarse whisper? And so I started humming
Mm.
just to warm my vocal cords. Have you ever thought about that? The fact that,
So I've never thought about if my voice wouldn't work, but that is a good point, and that actually segues beautifully into the last step that I always talk about is communication.
Mhm,
So part of it is communicating to the bad guy. I
mhm,
give very explicit directions. Stand back, don't come any closer, those types of things, or what are you doing here? You know, very specific of what you want. But then the other part is communication with your partner. So with your loved one, like when you start planning out these things, include them in. Like, hey, mom, this is what I would want you to do. Scream for help. Or, you know, get in the car, cover your head. Like, whatever the plan might be. If they have good upper body mobility, but they have, they're in a wheelchair or some sort, but they have a cane, swing your cane. Like, make sure to keep distance. Like, communicating that plan, not just to yourself, but to whoever you're taking care of. Again,
even your
depending on.
child, even a child, if it's a child you're caring for. Yeah.
I had this conversation with a mom, and she was like, you bring up a really good point. I don't know if my kids know what to do if something would happen, if we're out and about. Like, because I asked her, I was like, is like, what is the plan that you have for them? Is it to run back into the building and get help? Do you want them to run to the car and lock themselves in? And she was like, and then we even did it as, a home invasion. Do they
Hmm.
know to go to their room? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. My screen went down. I was like, do they know to run to their room and lock the door? Or do you want them to run to the neighbor's house? What is the plan? And do they know that? And she goes, I don't think we've ever actually talked about this. So with kids, it's one thing because age, maturity, all of that. With your like loved one that you're caring for,
Hmm.
again, depending upon where they are cognitively, like what you're caring for them because of, and having that conversation and expectations of what they are to do if something happens. Do they know to call 911 immediately? Do they know to like if they have one of those emergency buttons, do they know to press that the moment that something happens with you?
So we're thinking of things that are unusual or that we normally don't think of. Here's, and I tell you, my mind's all over the place. So the bathroom.
Mhm.
When I'm in a public place, even at your job, because we're talking to professionals,
Yep.
where is that bathroom? What time of day is it? Is it at the end of the day where most people aren't in that business, at that facility? And are you going to the bathroom that's way down the hall in the back, and someone could come in behind you and you don't know it?
Yeah.
So we even have to think of things like that, you know.
I was going to go down this like such a rabbit hole of government
It's
life.
okay, we'll go just a little bit.
So one of the things that we had were to ensure people didn't piggyback off of you because we're in a secure building. So when
Hmm.
you come in off of the street, like you want to be a nice person and hold the door open, but I better see their badge
Hmm.
and all of this stuff because if not, like I mean, protocol is that you badge in and that way there's recollect like that knows that you're supposed to be there, that you have access to this building. And also at the same time, if someone's right behind me, it's kind of rude to like shut the door and make
Right.
them badge in. So part of it is like if you want to be polite and kind, I also have the ability to communicate. I'm like, hey, I need to see you badge in. And they're like, oh yeah, because they know protocol. They'll be like,
Mhm,
oh yeah, and
mhm.
they'll badge in, no big deal. And if they get like rude about it, I'm like, that's when you then shut the door and have all of these. So what I was trying to get to is from a government perspective, we were so used to knowing who's coming in behind us. Like, are they piggybacking in? Why are they there? Like all of these little things that you bring up that someone walks into a bathroom behind you.
Mhm.
Are you aware how
Well,
close they are? Like all of these things. And then is it timed right? What are, is someone in earshot if you scream for help? If not,
exactly. Well, think about you traveling, and this is what I'm thinking. A lot of time you traveling, like from one place to the other, and you have to stop and go to the restroom.
mhm,
And so, usually, when you go to a gas station restroom or whatever, they're around the corner in the back, and the men and the women's restroom are there. And unless someone is actually there, they're not seeing what's going on there.
yeah.
And so, if you're doing this and it's late at night because you're traveling, you need to rethink that. Just I'm not saying don't go to the bathroom, but be super aware.
Yeah, so now you're paying attention. Like, is there someone else in there? Will I be caught off guard? You know, like when someone turns the corner and you jump because you got
Hmm.
scared. That to me, I was like, oh, I was really in my own thoughts that I wasn't even aware of a shadow coming around, like things like that. Like that's my own guidance of like reminding me, like, oh, I was not present in that moment that someone was able to scare me like that. So in these situations, it's having that ability to be present, so the more present you are, that is the mental side of it. Then also at the same time, the less, I don't want to say fear, but I'm okay going to the bathroom in a gas station at night because I am checking my surroundings, all of
Right.
this. And the moment you put your hands on me or you don't listen to my commands, I know what I'm going to do to you. So
Right.
like there's a level of, I want to say, freedom for me that
Mhm.
that I just feel in comparison to women I've talked with. So, going down this baseline of spectrum of absolutely no experience to where I'm at, and then also know that people have 10 times the experience I have in martial arts.
Well, we're not saying be paranoid. I
Yeah,
mean, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying, like you said, be present and aware. And
right.
a lot of times, situations like that, you just don't think about it. I mean, you got to go to the bathroom. Your whole thoughts getting into
Yes,
getting there,
yes.
And so we're just bringing up these instances that maybe you want to start just being aware.
Absolutely. Being aware is probably 100% the most important part of self defense and prevention and all of these things. And just again, taking in the surroundings, thinking through, um, just because I go in one door doesn't mean I have to go out that door.
Hmm.
So, are you paying attention to other exits? All buildings have an emergency exit, anyways. So, even those thought processes of going into a building, going into that gas station, what if you come out of the bathroom and something's happening at the front? You only came in that front door. Is there a back door that you could exit so you're not putting yourself in danger? Those types of things. If you're at work and something happens, just because you know that you come in the front door all the time, is there a side exit that you're able to go out, similar to fire drills? Like we go through all of these, but it's the same thought process when you're going to different locations, different buildings, different places, is just being aware of that floor plan. Like it doesn't have to be that front door every time.
And knowing if that door, if it's a side door, it does it stay locked? Does it have an alarm on it? Can if you go out, can you get back in? And a lot of times we don't think about that. Again, back to that stop, drop, and roll. So
Yeah,
with all that said, and it's great. Are there any strategies or practices that would recommend that could significantly aid our listeners? And what tools or techniques can women use to actually increase their situational awareness and protect themselves and those they care for?
sure. So in my course, there's an entire module that goes through, effective techniques. Part of Krav Maga is that they want to do the most amount of damage with the least amount of effort. So if I'm to teach you one move for striking, it would be the hammer fist. So, like, if you make your fist like this, that you're striking with almost like this heel part. It's very powerful. It's not a straight on punch. I'm able to come forward. I'm able to come to the side of someone. Someone comes behind me. This is going into their groin because it's a low hit that way. You're able to strike all of these spots with just using your fists. So that would be, if I'm to teach a woman one technique, it's like be comfortable holding your hands up like this and then striking down almost like a hammer. The thought of where to strike is the next part. So this is kind of twofold. I teach that you want to protect yourself. So all the time, your head is the most vulnerable area that I would want to protect, because if you knock me unconscious, I can't do anything. So I always want to protect my head, my face, those types of things. So looking at your temples, the back of your head, coming up to cover yourself, covering your face this way. But knowing that what you want to protect on yourself is actually what you want to be attacking on the other person. So if I am going to strike someone, I'm not going to
Mhm.
strike them in their torso, most likely. I'm going for their cheekbones. I'm going for their jaw. I'm going for their temple. I'm coming in to strike them hard in that type of way. Definitely going for the groin if it's a male. That would be one area of, the type of strike that I would use. The other part that I teach in my course is how to use your body mechanics to get out of certain things. So one thing that's very basic, if someone grabs your hand, I'll talk about trained and untrained. An untrained move would be that you start doing this like tug of war type move. The stronger person is going to win. And again, as a female of smaller size, that puts you at a disadvantage. One
Mhm.
thing to know that the weakest part of a grip is between their thumb and first finger. So I'm going to try to do this to the camera. If I grab myself, I'm going to want to exit between the thumb and first finger. So bringing my energy through to get out of their grip. I'm going to try
Mhm.
to do it the reverse side. So the camera and the mirror episode. So right here, if you could see where my thumb is, let me bring it this way. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. I was like, here we go. Which way do we move? So if we go with the thumb and first finger, now I'm trying to get out this way. So if I was just pulling back and forth with someone, being like knowing that this is the exit point that I want to go to, that I want to come through this part right here is how I want to break a grip. So we go into that a lot more in detail, but it's those little things of knowing how body mechanics work and what to target is what I feel most comfortable with for women. Um, a
What I
clarify.
love, but before you go on, what I love is that the tips you gave aren't male specific. You gave one male specific because we keep talking about a man, and usually there it doesn't have to be a man, and there are some larger women or stronger women or women who know hapkido or stuff,
Yeah,
So these are great tips that will work in any situation, pretty much.
they are great in any situation with the attacker and also with the person. So
Mhm.
it works for my mom, who's, in her mid 70s. It works for me. I teach the 11-year-olds what a hammer strike is. It kind of reduces that size. Now, I'm not saying that an 11-year-old against a 35-year-old male is going to win. What I'm saying is I'm giving them a brief moment to render them in shock with a moment of pain that child could then run. Same thing for me. I'm not looking to go 9 rounds with my attacker and completely knock them unconscious. If I can, great. What I'm trying to do is stun them enough that I've given myself a few seconds of opportunity to get myself out of the situation. So I think that's also one thing that you want to reiterate with women, especially, is my
Mhm.
goal. It might take me, I'm not saying like I get out of the grip, I'm free. It might take me getting out of the grip, hammer like fist, but like I might have to do multiple strikes in order for me to get that 2-second head start to try to run for safety, scream for help, grab my phone, call 911, whatever it might be. And then I might have to re engage. But my whole goal is to get myself out of the situation. If I could run free, I will. If I could run back into that building for help, I will. I just want to give myself a few seconds, not necessarily like, have them unconscious on the ground. That would be preferred, but that's not a guarantee either.
So now I want to, because this is a perfect segue to what we were talking about before we got on camera. So I want to talk about, first I want to say, with practical self-defense is crucial for confidence and safety, and we talked about that. But how do I say it? When do you know to stand and fight, and when do you know to flee? We talked about letting things go and all that. So I want you to speak to that.
So the downside of self-defense is there is no checklist. There is no do this, 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 in this order, and you're going to be safe. I can't guarantee any of that. What I will say is it is dependent upon the person and the situation that they're in. A lot of times, there's some great books that recount women's experiences with assault and they're like, I don't know, I just did. Perfect. Whatever you do is what you do. But what I will say is when to stand there and when to fight. I will keep distance as much as possible, telling them to stand back. If I have the ability to move back, I will move back. The moment that they go to put their hands on me or put their hands on me, I'm fighting. That is, so if you want to know like what is the trigger, the moment you touch me is the trigger that I am going to fight.
It's
Um,
on.
like now it's like that was your fault. And that's where it'll progress from there. And then what we had talked about before we started hitting record is how I respond. If you're trying to steal my car, if you're trying to steal my purse, if you're trying to take some type of object from me, here you go. Take it. If that's what you want and you're going to leave me alone or leave my loved one alone, have it, do it, whatever. Like, it will be a pain in the butt to go through the whole process of filing a police report, replacing my credit cards, getting a new ID. Yes, and I'm alive to do it. So I'd rather have that inconvenience than whatever might happen if I decide to struggle to keep my purse. There is no object that is worth my safety. So there's that part of letting them have whatever they want. Sure, you could like if you're willing to do violence in order to get this, you could have it. Now, the other thing we talked about is I have my phone in my hand, although I wouldn't want to have my phone in my hand if I'm going from one point to the other because we want to be hands free and not distracted. But say I have my phone in my hands, have my keys, whatever it might be, and someone's coming towards me, my first instinct is going to drop and have my hands free so I could put them up in defense so I can defend myself if necessary. I will deal with a broken phone, with my keys off to the side. I will deal with that when the time comes. I was like, I want to keep my keys close in case I have to jump in my car. But given the situation of, I will drop and break whatever is necessary. If I have a glass dish in my hand going to some dinner party and someone comes on the street, sorry, that dish is going to get smashed into the ground. I'm not going to hold on to it. I want to have my hands free so I could do whatever it might be. So it's things like that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Now, when you said the keys, I remember self-defense once, and they said use your key, use the sharpness of your key. And you said you would throw yours away. So I'm curious now. This is my curiosity. Can you speak to that?
So there's a few things. And to like go a little bit more in detail, like I was told to put my keys in between my fingers. That's so dumb. You're gonna cut yourself.
Thank you. I needed to know that. No.
Yeah, like, well, one thing to even like to go back even further, your keys aren't sharp enough to stab into someone. Like it might be like a pinch. If anything, I'm gonna slash with my key.
Right.
I don't have keys on my desk at this point, so I'm gonna use my highlighter instead. So like the conversation was like putting your key in like this, or like this. I don't have a lot of strength if I'm holding it on like this.
Oh no.
I would go back to that hammer fist. I could stab into someone if I had it. I'm stronger and more capable with my hands
Hmm.
free than to have my keys. To me, I want my keys in order to get in my car or get in my house. I do
Okay.
not want to use my keys as a self defense mechanism. I am going to use something else. Um, so coming through, and I wouldn't even go in for a stab, I would slash at
No,
them.
I would definitely, because you were talking about the face and the head. I would go for the face and slide across is what I was thinking if I had keys. But you're right. I'd rather have my hands than my.
Well, and let me go one step further. I talk a lot about being trained, untrained. I know where to hit, how to hit, all of these things. When in doubt, go scrappy. I know for most women, we got that in us. Like
Yeah.
we can get scrappy. If you're not sure what to do what comes natural. Use your nails, come in, like aim for the eyes, like clawing someone. Worst case scenario, I'm going to claw a man's face. I use the bad guy as a man all the time. Like it might be a woman, but most likely it's going to be a male. If I cannot get a good strike in or get in position, and the only thing I'm able to do is be coming down with my hands and clawing, absolutely. If you're a woman who has the nice acrylic nails and got some length to you, like you could fish hook a man in his mouth with one of those and pull. Like
Wow.
you might rip a nail off, but and again, jumping one section further, I also know that I could sustain injuries in defending myself. And
Right.
I'm okay with that. Like, I know that I might, if I am getting into that full, like, I am fighting for my life scenario,
Hmm.
bruising, cuts. I hope for a really good plastic surgeon. I broke my leg in 3 places. I know what having metal plates and screws in. I am still alive. So the whole point is to remain alive, knowing you're not going to walk out potentially unscathed. Like there might be bruises, there might be broken bones, but the
Right.
whole point is to protect yourself in a way that keeps you conscious, that keeps you alive. If I break my arm in the process, similar to my keys or in my phone, my broken arm can get put back together. My bruises will heal. The part of being able to keep going and stay alive and keep breathing is my end goal. To protect the people who are with me is my end goal. And what that turns into is dependent upon each situation.
So, with that said, this is my last question because it all boils down to this, and I'm glad we got a little physical, but like
Mhm.
you said, we don't want to get to that stage. We really don't want to get to that stage. So, what are some ways that women can become more comfortable with protecting themselves? And I know part of it is psychological. You have to, one, believe you're worth it, you know,
Yes.
and two, believe that you can. But
So So all of the things there, one, reminding yourself you are stronger than you think, you are more
yeah.
capable.
Mhm.
One of the activities I have students do who take my class is writing down the things that you want to fight for to stay alive. So, like a lot of people put their family, like, why am I fighting to stay alive? Like having that at the forefront, I think makes it like this even more powerful drive. And even just looking at that on paper when not even in the situation is
Mhm.
like, yeah, I have a lot to live for. The other part is showing up for yourself. So this kind of enhances your intuition. So, there's certain things that you could do on a daily basis. Do I train for self defense, very specific to self defense on a daily basis? No. Do I do things Do I do things that reiterate that I take care of myself and my body every day and I am here to protect myself as well? Yes. And that is eating well, sleeping, doing something physical, moving my body. And the fact that I say, I want to be better as a self, I want to be better, and then doing actionable items reminds myself that, yeah, like I'm here to take care of you, girl. Like I got you. Like if I say I want to go to bed and get at 10 o'clock because I need 8 hours of sleep, and I go to bed at 10 o'clock and I get my sleep, I'm like iterating to myself, like, yes, like you are worthy and I value this and I am taking care of you. If I say I'm going to go to bed at 10 and I push it to 1 a.m., it is my body going to believe the things that I'm saying and thinking?
Well, that with that said, and like you said, I teach on self-care and stuff, but the thing is the awareness of your body and what's going on with you too. If you know you did not get enough sleep or whatever, it's like, are you at your wits end? Are you tired? Are you, there are certain times you
Mhm.
just like, you have to say, I can't do that. That's back to boundaries. I
Yes.
can't do this right now, because you know that you are not capable mentally or physically. It's not just physically, it's mentally as well.
And your mental wellness, I think, surpasses your physical capabilities hands
Hello.
down. Like, if you are not like, I am a toddler. People know me well enough that if I am not in my like usual self, it's like, Allison, do you need a nap or do you need food? Like, do you need fed? Like, treat me like a child. Like, there's probably sleep and there's probably food that needs to be taken. But that is showing that I have not taken care of myself. I have not done those things of that I need sleep and I need to eat good food and I need to, that whole you cannot pour from an empty cup mentality is very true. But also, if you are sleep deprived, if you are high anxiety, if you are worn down, your body again is in that survival mode. It is in that I just need to make it through this. It's not taking in the signals of your environment. It is not like, it is just this downward, and you are not good to like yourself, to the people around you. So one of the ways to build your confidence the most is to take care of yourself. And that is where I say showing up. Now, specific to self defense, I highly recommend everyone to do an in person seminar. If you have the ability to do one in your town, go do it. That is such an experience. It gives you a baseline. Um, I can't say that everyone is going to be like this great instructor, but it gives you common knowledge. It gives you a little bit, it gives you some exposure. You feel a little bit better. You're like, okay, I did it. It's not as intimidating as I thought. Like, yeah, like you get to hit bags. I mean, like sometimes there's a rage in you that you just need to hit some stuff. Like, this is the perfect outlet. If you don't have that option, love for you to take the digital course. Like,
Perfect.
then you have it.
That's a perfect segue because I was going to say, ladies, she has said two important things before we end this. Two important things. One, taking care of yourself. That's your resilience. That is your ability to fight for those that you love. And I'm not talking physically. We will talk more on this.
Yeah.
But Allison, take her course. I'm telling you, you want to know as much as you can in order to arm yourself. So, Allison, tell us where we can catch up with you, where we can find you on social media and on your website, because I looked it up. I was all in there, girl. And
All
so,
right.
before you tell us, I just want everyone to know that I will put this information in the show notes. But go ahead and tell us.
All right, perfect. You can find me on Instagram at Strong is Beautiful SD for self defense. Um, Working on that, getting that up to speed with a little bit more tips and tricks that are easy to digest. You could find my full course and everything on my website, which is strongisbeautiful.com. There is hyphens in there because of domain stuff. So just make sure you find it that way. Hopefully, you can put it in Google and it'll pop right up. There is a promo code for any of your listeners. They'll get 10% off. I believe I said it at Caring Corner is 10%.
Okay. So let me put, I'm actually, y'all forgive me because I need to write this down. 10%. See, she surprised me. And it's caring corner. Is it case sensitive? Case sensitive?
It shouldn't be, but I think it just populates as all uppercase when you go into the checkout anyways.
Okay, and is all one word?
All
No.
one word. Yep.
Okay, so Caring Corner for 10% off of her course, and it is strong dash is dash beautiful.com. I'm telling you, I found it. I was all in there. And I love the story about the elephant and the rose. If you want to know more about that, you got to go to her site. So there.
Come check it out. There's some blogs that I'll keep working on, but you'll see, I think it's more in line with you and wellness coaching. When I talk about it, I'm very passionate about taking care of yourself mentally and physically. So my blog is more along those lines. So you could get a little bit more information there. And thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I'm sure we could go for hours, uh,
Yes.
but we got to respect your listeners' time.
Yes. So thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and close us out. If you just hang for me just for a second,
All
and
right.
we'll talk on the backside real quick. But listen, thank you so much for being here with us today on the Caring Corner. Again, I'm Mischelle O'Neal, your emotional wellness coach and host. And our special guest is Alison Bosworth with Strong is Beautiful. And come on, ladies, we're strong here. Show your muscles. So thank you again for being here with us. Make sure you like, subscribe, or just leave an amazing comment beneath us. See, I can't even talk because I'm ready to get off and talk to her. So until next time, take care. Bye bye. All right, that's a wrap for today at the Caring Corner. We've tackled some big topics, but remember, you're not in this alone. Subscribe to keep the wisdom and warmth coming. And stay tuned for amazing guests who'll be joining us to help round out your caregiving toolkit. Catch you next time and keep conquering those challenges.